Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Our Issues Birmingham. Today's guest is no introduction needed, Taylor Hicks. Taylor, God bless you. Thank you for being here.
How you doing, Tommy?
I've known you in a lot of circumstances and never thought we would be in this dynamic, but
Cool.
I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being here. I know you've got a show coming up soon we'll talk about later in the show. But first of all, I'd like people in our viewing audience to know how you ended up where you are in 2024 when in 2004 you were doing what many local musicians were doing, which was tacking up posters on telephone poles to come see you play at the Nick or wherever else you were performing. And then the universe opened up for you. Tell us that story.
Well, I was obviously, I was playing music in Alabama and in a little bit in Georgia and on the Panhandle down at the Floribama.
Yeah.
And then
I've actually played at the Floribama.
Really?
Yes.
Do we have some B-roll of that?
No, we don't. But my
Do
wife.
we need some?
No, it was just my standard Rocky Raccoon.
That's
When the
great.
musician sat down, I went into Rocky
That's
Raccoon.
great.
Alcohol make you do crazy things.
Oh, yes. And then you need a lawyer, right?
This was a long time ago. This would have been in the early 80s.
And is this where we're scrolling your number below the screen here?
No. This is not a lawyer show. This show is about community affairs and people like you who are a part of our community.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I played every nook and cranny in Alabama. And, you know, to be honest, in a different way, I still do, you know. But
you move around and then you come back home.
I do, yes. Yeah, I love coming back home, obviously, family and friends and Saul's barbecue. And I do like to come back home a lot. Living in Nashville, it's easy for me to do that. You know, I'm not in L.A. anymore, not in New York. I like the South.
Thank God.
I like traveling. I like traveling to those places, but I don't like
Have you been
living
to that African American museum there
in Nashville. I have. It's
fascinating.
Absolutely gorgeous and beautiful and a very educational.
You could spend
museum.
hours or days in that place.
Yeah, to be able to go from the Country Music Hall of Fame and walk across the street to another museum, just as good. It's
fascinating. If you get a chance to go. You will not regret it. It's interactive, and it takes music from gospel, I'll say, church type music, and brings it all the way to rock and roll. And you can even play with the little gadgets and compare and contrast, like the Rolling Stones taught Americans our own music, essentially.
Absolutely.
But anyway,
it's just good.
Back to you.
No, that's a wonderful. It's a wonderful street, Broadway in Nashville. It's got a lot of different things on it, from one end to the other. But no, I was playing all the places that nooks and crannies you could play in Alabama. But then I went down to New Orleans for a wedding, and that just happened to be the weekend of Hurricane Katrina. And that was it was 05.
Uh-huh.
And it was September of 05. And I went down there, was at a wedding with some folks from Louisiana. And folks from Louisiana, when a storm comes, they still have the wedding
Party.
They don't miss a beat.
No.
So I was in New Orleans, and later in Saturday night, when I realized that they were shutting the city down, I remember going downstairs to the hotel, and I remember walking past Dickie B's Steakhouse, the Brennans, and I looked in the actual window, and it was the whole Brennan's family together talking huddled up, talking about figuring out what they're going to do. So I realized that it was a pretty serious situation. And when I got back to my hotel room, all the taxi cabs had fled the city. Mm-hmm. So I realized that taxi cab drivers flee hurricanes too. Mm-hmm. So I ended up catching one cab.
This is pre-Uber, by the way.
Pre-Uber, very pre-Uber, and ended up in a taxi cab in contraflow traffic for 15 hours.
Oh, gosh.
And he and I fled the storm, went to West Monroe, Louisiana, and the storm passed. He ended up driving back into the Ninth Ward and saving his grandmother. His name was Tony. And I ended up renting a car back to Birmingham. And on the way to Birmingham, Southwest had canceled my flight, but gave me a free ticket anywhere in the continental United States. So I pulled in my rent-a-car in the Birmingham airport and said, Vegas. Never been to Vegas before.
Non-stop.
Non-stop. So you still non-stop. So I used the ticket to go to Vegas. So I was going to, play a few games and play a few hands of poker. I'd never been there before. I got there probably at 11:30. About 12:45 in the morning, my brother calls me and says, "You're not going to believe this, but American Idol tryouts are at the convention center in 2 hours." And so I decided that I just got back from playing poker games. So I just walked down to the convention center and got in line. And everybody was asking me where my kids were that were auditioning.
Because you were so old?
Because I was the oldest American Idol winner to date. And so I got in line, and the rest is the rest.
You're telling
is
me don't get in line?
Try not to.
All right, stop. We're going to come back and pick it up there. We're going to take a short break. This fascinating story. Don't go away. We'll be right back with Taylor Hicks telling us about his journey from there to here. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. Taylor Hicks has gotten us into Vegas, out of Katrina, escaped the storm, and went right into another storm. Vegas is a storm, whether there's a storm or not. Anytime you're there, I have a rule. I gamble the day I leave.
Yeah,
because if you're winning, you need to leave.
That's true.
If you're losing, you need to leave.
That's a good one.
All right, you're in line.
I'm in line. And
with a bunch of younger people.
A bunch of young kids. And ended up singing some Ray Charles. And
in line?
When I got to the cattle call audition. So I got done with that. And they let me through. And I guess it just kind of was a snowball effect. I realized that I'd caught my break on the way home. Not necessarily when I won the show, but as I was traveling back home, I realized that I had a real opportunity to be able to materialize the dream that I had for a long time, and
you're giving me chill bumps.
Well, I still get them, but when you grow up working on a craft, learning instruments, doing an apprenticeship of Ray Charles and Van Morrison, when you're 10 and 12 and trying to sing like them and then learning instruments, all the signs, point to God having you a path and not knowing, honestly, when that opportunity was going to come.
That's what I've said on this show before. Destiny finds you. You don't find destiny.
Yeah, I agree.
And it found you.
Yeah, I went from playing the Oasis and Onas to touring Southeast Asia in about 6 months.
Wow!
So that's how fast it comes. And the fame and it was a lot, especially during that time. The show was a juggernaut of television. And I was so blessed to be on it at that time. But we made some really good television and the people of Alabama, it's funny. I always tell people I think it's the only night that Alabama and Auburn fans ever agreed on anything.
Well, probably so.
So I'm not giving up that ghost anytime soon. But it was such a great win, and obviously paying homage to Ruben and Bo Bice and some of those guys that kind of paved the way. Just from a viewership standpoint, I think the people at American Idol just saw how how into they were to the show. I mean, they had you had Ruben and then you had Bo, so all of this great viewership was coming out of Birmingham.
Well, and even to this day, if you watch American Idol or The Voice, I'm a big fan of The Voice because of Snoop now, particularly. I find him quite entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
There are so many Alabama musicians that were similarly situated to you being picked to perform and compete in those shows.
And I think a lot of it has to do with that people in this area really love their variety shows. They really love the singing shows. And when someone from Alabama or Birmingham or surrounding areas, I think once they come on the show, I think people just from this area get really invested in them.
Yeah, definitely. So aside from that transformation, it had a lot of spin-offs for you. So you got a lot of publicity, a lot of notoriety. I was in Vegas once, and there was this big billboard with your face on it. And I went, holy moly, how times have changed. I mean, it was as big as Alexander Shannara's on top of the bank building downtown. You're welcome, Alex. But you have a state. What is that show about? You're doing you travel around cooking now?
So I hosted a food and travel series called State Plate, which what we did was you can find it on Amazon and YouTube. The first season's on YouTube, and then the next 2 seasons are on Amazon. I went around and put a plate of food together that was just iconic to that state. So it was called State Plate. So we went to all 50 states. And
somebody approached you to do this?
A plate of food. Yes, they had the idea, and we kind of took the idea and kind of put based a show around it. It aired on the Inspiration Channel.
My favorite.
And that was
Gunsmoke.
Oh yeah, if you wanted
Wagon Train.
If you want to watch all of those, then that's the place to do it. But yes, we went to all 50 states. I was able to see a lot of the hitherland and meet a lot of fascinating people. It wasn't just it wasn't diners and dine-ins and stuff like that. I mean, we actually went to we went out to the farms to where the actual staples of this of putting that on the plate, like wheat. We went to some of the farming, so we really went into the heartland and was able to really expose just how important the American farmer is to this country.
What people don't appreciate, I don't think, is it looks all fun and games from the perspective of the viewer.
The finished product.
It is hard work. And I mean, it really is, I would think. Am I wrong about that?
Oh yeah.
You're moving.
8 hours of footage could end up being 4 minutes of television.
Yeah. It's sort of like this show. We do it in 22 minutes. So I am happy to talk about that. You got some things coming up here in Birmingham. We're going to take a short break and talk about them.
Awesome.
And then we're going to let you play us out. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We're talking with Taylor Hicks, giving us an overview of his life, including what we overlooked was his residency in Vegas. Quite an accomplishment, and I'm sure that seemed glamorous also, but that's hard work.
Just being able to live through it is an accomplishment.
Yes, that's a rough place. I got lawyer friends out there who say it's like practicing law in the Midway.
That's true.
So you got some things coming up soon here in Birmingham at the Lyric Theater. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're doing with that? I noticed a lot of people are doing things. I just witnessed a person perform 1966 Bob Dylan.
Wow.
So tell us about that.
So I've done, so I partner up with Toys for Tots, which is obviously military. We do Marines, Toys for Tots all over the country. I know here at ABC 3340, Toys for Tots is a big partner. So this is my 10th year of doing a big tribute show. And I do different ones. I've done Van Morrison. We've done Elton John. We've done Joe Cocker. We've done Rod Stewart. This year, back by popular demand, I'm doing Rod Stewart's greatest hits, and then I'll play some Christmas classics and a couple of songs off of a couple of my albums. But we do it at the Lyric Theater. It's December 20th at the Lyric Theater. And you can go and get tickets at my website, taylorhicks.com or lyricbham.com. It's a great show. We've got a big band. Obviously, all of my Birmingham musicians come and play. And it's just been a big hit in town, and it has been for a while. And everybody brings a toy for Toys for Tots. And what's special about it is that the Marines show up. And we do a tribute to them on stage. I have a song about a fallen soldier called 19, which is a really moving tribute to all of our servicemen and women.
Did you write it?
No, I didn't. Jeffrey Steele wrote it in Nashville with Gary Nicholson, but I put it on my last record. So it's a really beautiful show. It's a very holiday oriented show, and it's for a great cause. And Toys for Tots is a really, really great organization.
I was going to say, I don't recall ever seeing a Rod Stewart Christmas album.
No, that's funny. I've never either.
Everybody, I mean, Sinatra has one.
But it's funny that he didn't do that. But I do some really good Christmas songs, some obscure Christmas tunes too, and it's Toys for Tots is just. It's a really, really fun thing to get involved with for me because I know that those toys are going to go in the hands of the children that don't have a Christmas. And it's not necessary for me. It's not necessarily monetary. It's an actual physical thing that is going to go to those children.
That's great. Are you otherwise busy doing gigs in various places?
I do
regularly.
I still doing the shows. The phones are still ringing. I hope that I get to release some new music. I got a good bit of new music to release.
You in the studio?
In the first of the year. Just got out of the studio, Zach Brown's studio up in Nashville, and I've got some music to release next year, along with some touring and hopefully some film and TV. So this is a great time of year for me to come back and see family and friends and hang out with you hang out and do things like this with you.
Well, I'm glad you were here. When you said you could be here on this day, I went, oddly enough, that's the day I'm taping.
Well, that's perfect.
So,
destiny finds us.
There it is again. We actually ran into each other at a golf course, and I had Rick Carter on, who you know.
Yeah.
And Rick is still working. Rick is on the road 260 days.
He's quite the writer too. He likes to write. That's a good thing. That's when he
wrote a book.
Yeah, that's a great outlet. It's a great outlet for older musicians that have done it. They have stories. Why not tell them?
Stories, but I don't have any time to write.
Do you have stories about all the old musicians in Birmingham?
I've represented most of them.
Absolutely. And not me yet, though, but I hadn't gotten old yet, I don't think.
I was taught when I was a young lawyer, be nice to your bartenders. because that's where people with troubles end up.
Absolutely.
And so I've always had a particular affinity to help those that are in the service industry because they don't make a lot of money. They are working hard. And I was in the service industry as a bartender when I had my first exposure to going to law school.
Yeah.
I was serving a lawyer happy hour at what used to be Victoria Station.
Oh,
You don't even remember
No.
Victoria Station.
that's old school.
It's 70s.
I bet that was fun, though.
Well, it was one of its kind, but it's like, what do you do when you get off work? I mean, when your gig ends, you don't go home and go to bed.
No, it's
That's
tough.
the beginning of your wind down.
Right.
So you have some, and particularly in Vegas, I would think it was tough.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where, when I got off stage, actually was, around 10:30 or 11. That's when Vegas just gets
Lights up.
That's when Vegas just gets started. So.
Well, I appreciate you being with us. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to take us home.
That's an homage to the late Topper Price.
Is that Topper's song?
No, well, that's just me learning our harmonica and learning some of his licks. That's an homage to Topper. But I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday, and God bless the state of Alabama.
Thank you, Taylor, for being here. I asked, just so you'll know, I used to do a charity thing, and Taylor appeared one time called Crooning for Critters, and there was a harmonica part in it, and I asked Taylor, I was going to play it, and I asked Taylor what to do. He said, just blow and suck.
It's about, if you're in the right key, magic can happen.
Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next Sunday.
Happy holidays.
We get it. Your mornings are hectic.
We're here to help you get ready for your day.
Good Morning Alabama on ABC 3340.
GMA doesn't waste your time.
Local weather, traffic, and news always on your screen.
It's the information you need, always where you can see it, even during commercials.
Plus, we have the Good Morning Alabama live desk.
Always updating breaking news in your neighborhood and around the world.
Everything you need to prepare for your day. Good Morning Alabama on ABC 3340. At ABC 3340, we're not just working for you, we're working with you. Because of you, together, we're making a difference. Thank you and keep them coming to news tips at abc3340.com or call us at 205-440-1841.